Welcome, everyone. So grateful to be here today on this podcast where we look at how practitioners in traditional medicine transition to an alternative approach and their stories. What's behind everyone's transition? It's so interesting to me because obviously I had my own story and my guests have their own stories. And today I'm so happy to bring in an old friend, actually. We met a few years ago. And Troy Shelton is an amazing lady here. She was certified in hand therapy, occupational therapist, and she transitioned into functional medicine and energy medicine. And she has amazing stories to share, one after the other. And we had the privilege to working together with some of our patients and raving testimonials here. So without further ado, Troy, can you please tell everybody what inspired the transition? What made you, go from occupational the safety of that job, right?
Mhm.
Occupational medicine, occupational therapy into functional and energy medicine.
Yeah, so actually, energy medicine came a little bit before my functional medicine journey, and that came about due to my son, who was diagnosed with ADHD when he was 5 years of age, and he had more energy than most people. When I took him to the psychologist or psychiatrist, and they gave him that designation, so to speak, they said he was had the most energy of any patient that this psychiatrist had ever seen, and he was only 5. And they said, well, in 12 years, he should be, start to mellow out. Well, I wanted to kind of strangle that practitioner because I'm like, he's only 5. And, another 12 years when he's 18, he starts to mellow out. He just turned 18 on Saturday. So I have to
Happy
say,
birthday.
yeah, so he, is really the beginning of my energy work. So I was listening to a podcast called Successful Kids Revolution with Julie Kleinhans at the time, and she had a guest speaker on there, Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he is the author of The Emotion Code and the Body Code, and he has since released certifications in the belief code. So my training and energy work is under emotion code, body code, and belief code. So that's where my certifications come from Dr. Brad. I'm so grateful to him. And he is found at discoverhealing.com. If anybody wants to find his information, his explanation of the emotion code, body code, belief code, heart wall, things like that. So I thought, if I could help my son with impulsivity and behavior issues and just agitation and sensory processing through clearing trapped emotions and help him in that way, I thought, what do I have to lose, right? And so I basically, he offered a free book, a free sign up where you can get information on his book and how to muscle test. It was called a free starter kit. So I went ahead and got that, started muscle testing, learning how to do the emotion code, listen to the audible of his book because I'm not a big reader. I don't love to read. And there was a point in time where I was desperate to utilize it. So I had been studying that. However, I had purchased a summer camp for my son. And I was living in San Francisco area at the time, and we bought this wonderful summer camp for my son. But the day that he was going and my husband drove him there, he started having a lot of anxiety. The minute they pulled up the driveway, he started coughing, hacking. He didn't want to stay. He had big tears. And the counselors were like, no problem, we'll take care of him. And then I had bought this at the school auction for like $350, thinking like, okay, this is a great summer camp. But what I found out was that it was really $700. That was just the deposit for this 1 week summer camp. And then when my son was like, having all these issues, it wasn't even going to go to this camp. I was like, great, what are we going to do? So my husband texted me and it's like, we'll probably have to go pick him up. It's probably not going to work out. And that night I went and picked him up, and I thought, or the day before that, I said, okay, well, let's try this emotion code thing. What do we have to lose? And so that night I laid next to him. I had my chart of emotions. I was muscle testing. Is there a trapped emotion I could clear that would help my son to get through this week of summer camp? And I got a yes. I cleared 4 trapped emotions. He wasn't awake. I didn't even know if I was doing it right. And I went to work the next morning. I didn't see my son. I usually got up really early at 5, went to work. And that night I was able to pick him up, but my husband said, you know what, he's staying at camp today. He wasn't excited to go, but he was not tearful. He wasn't anxious. So I go to pick him up, and my son said to me, he's like, guess what, Mom? We're going to do this YouTube video. I'm going to wear this American flag around my shoulders. I'm going to have a crown on my head. This little girl's going to go up on stage. She's going to splat an egg on my head. We're going to edit the video, and you and Dad get to watch. And my husband and I looked at each other like, whose kid is this, right? My son had so much sensory processing issues, did not like to perform, was not going to sing, perform, do music, act, do any of those things. And it was all because of the emotion code. I cleared anxiety, I cleared humiliation, creative insecurity, and I don't even remember the 4th emotion I released. And I was like, wow, that is tremendously impactful for just what I thought I didn't even know what I was doing. So I said, I need to go and get certified in this and learn more about it. So I went to, in Nevada, they were having a in-person certification class. So I went there, I got certified at the end of, actually the beginning of 2017. So I started using this in 2016. And then at the end of 2017, I got my body code certification. And that was another little story. I got done with work one day, and I was listening to Dr. Brad work on people with chronic pain. So of course, in my outpatient hand therapy, I was working with people, all kinds of orthopedic injuries, shoulder pain, neck pain, cumulative trauma issues. And he worked with this one woman who happened to be from Montana that had 45 years of chronic pain, was on oxycodone, all these high pain meds. And within 5 minutes, her pain dropped from a 9 to like a 2 out of 10. And I was like, wow, that's incredible, right? The next client he worked with had an injury. She was in her 50s, dislocated her shoulder skiing, had pain, couldn't lift her shoulder above 90 degrees. He works with her for about 5 minutes. She's like, oh my gosh, I can totally lift my arm above my head, no pain. And I'm like, okay, well, that's the same clients I work with, and I don't want them to go through 7 months of therapy and not get results. And that was some of our clientele. We had workers' comp clients that would be like, you'd have 20 visits, 30 visits with these people, and they were just a little bit better, right? So I'm like, there's got to be more to this pain than just looking at their chart, massaging them, showing them stretches and home exercise programs, looking at, I really wanted to look at the whole big picture. I wanted to look at, are they under stress? Are they going through menopause? Are they going through divorce? Do they have 9 kids at home that they're trying to manage and homeschool? Like, what is the big picture of what my clients are undergoing when they're having pain? Are they in an unsupported relationship? Do they have gut problems, that's affecting their sleep and their mood, and their adrenals are all shot? Like, there's all these things, right? Instead of just coming for tennis elbow, there's got to be more to helping this person heal. And so I went and got certified in the body code at that point because I really wanted to help people on that level. But of course, in traditional medicine, we weren't really allowed to, like, hey, can I do body code on you today? And it wasn't really allowed. So I started just working with clients privately after work, like, hey, when you do certification, you have all these volunteer clients, you have to do like 60 some sessions. So you're doing a lot of one-on-ones. So I had all these people that volunteered. And one of my best stories was when I was doing emotion code certification, and 6 months prior to that, I was working with a gal who had chronic tennis elbow, had thoracic outlet syndrome, a whole bunch of neck and cumulative trauma issues from working at a hospital as a cook. And she was stirring big vats of oatmeal and all this stuff. She had a lot of pain. I had worked with her, and at the very end of me discharging her, I said, hey, I'm going to be doing this certification. Would you want to be a volunteer if I need more people down the road? And she's like, yeah, I'm open to that. Sure. So I was 3 weeks left in my certification for emotion code, and I call her up out of the blue, and I'm like, hey, hey, do you remember, that I was talking about doing this emotion code? Would you want to volunteer? Like, how's your arms doing? I hadn't seen her for a while, and she's like, yeah, my arms are pretty good, like 3 or 4 out of 10 pain, but they're doing pretty well. But it's my left knee that's killing me, and I have to have surgery in 2 weeks. I can't even walk on it. I'm limping. It's awful. Is there anything you can do for my knee? And I said, well, I'm not sure. And she's like, oh, and by the way, I'm driving across the Bay Bridge right now. Does it matter if I'm driving while you're working with me? And I'm like, I'm just desperate to get my certification done. I'm like, no, everything's fine. It's great. It's all energy. It works from anywhere. I can work with clients all over the world, whatever they're doing. It's all about intention, right? It's all about intention, love, and your desire to help that person. And so I'm just clearing emotions, just going along. And pretty soon I hear her gasp, and she's like, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, oh my gosh, I just got home. I just got out of my car, and I'm like totally walking. I'm like, my left knee doesn't hurt at all. And she's like, what did you do? And I go, I don't know what I did, but isn't this cool? So it's one of my favorite stories. And it's like one of my oldest stories, because, you don't have to be perfect at anything to help people, right? You can transition out of what you're doing even when you don't think you are an expert, because you know more than many of the other people because of the work and time and experiences and your life experiences that you put into your passion. And so, that was one of my favorite stories there. And then at the end of 2017, no, let's see, at the end of 2018, I was working full-time in San Francisco. And so this is where my functional medicine journey started. So I'd already been doing emotion code and body code for a couple of years. And it was the end of the year. And of course, I chose not to get a flu vaccine that year because I just didn't, I'd taken them for the past 5 years. And we were mandated at the hospital that I worked at from 2012 until the end of that time that I was working there to get one. And I said, 4 out of the 5 years I got the flu that I took this shot, and it really didn't work for me. And I don't know why it didn't really work for me, or, I just didn't feel like it was the right thing for me. So I chose not to do that. And I ended up losing my job over that. This is pre-COVID. It's kind of funny, that I lost my job over that situation. And so at that point, while they were trying to figure out if I should wear a PAPR to come in to work with people with tennis elbow, which was just crazy in an outpatient setting, they said, I had this 3-month window where they were trying to like, what are we going to do with her? Where can we put her? And they really wanted me to give up my career as an OT, and I could work remotely in like Sacramento area somewhere in a place where nobody worked. It was just ridiculous. I'm like, I'm not going to give up my gifts, right? So I ended up losing that position. I went and worked for a private hand surgeon in Fremont, California, that I was grateful for at the time, that just said, you know what, I don't care if you have a flu shot. You're one of the top hand therapists in San Francisco. I can't believe you're working for me. And I said, yeah, I'm grateful to be here, And then 1 year went by, and COVID had hit. So, but prior to that window of me working for that private surgeon, I had 3 months. And so that's when I connected with Garrick Vosloo at Functional Medicine Fast Track. He has a program for practitioners, which Catalina has also been through. And it's just great because it's really condensed. You learn very quickly. But I got my certification, level 1 certification in functional medicine at that time, to be able to help my clients in a different way. And so then COVID hit, and I said, okay, I'm going to leave California, because I kind of knew the drill there. It wasn't going to work out for me there in the traditional sense. And so I came back to Montana, where I grew up, and I just started doing energy work and functional medicine full time. Everything could be done virtually. And so it worked perfect. I was making money. I was helping many, many people, and I didn't have to see anybody in person. So there was really no restrictions. And under my license, under the umbrella of occupational therapy, we can choose to do many modalities, right? We can do ultrasound, we can do diaphragmatic breathing, we can do yoga now, we can do, all different kinds of modalities. So why not emotion code? Why not body code? Why not belief code? Why not a PEMF mat? Why not use negative ion therapy or bioresonance or any of these different things? And so I just started branching out, doing cellular health, looking at redox science, and utilizing those kinds of modalities for my clients. And now just recently adding on an incredible immune modulating product that I've been using for my clients with all kinds of autoimmune issues, cancers, thyroid, prostate, diabetes, all these kinds of things that I have been able to help my clients with a combination of energy work, frequency medicine through scanning and bioresonance, and then some incredible products that are helping modulate the immune system, and all those kinds of things. So really my passion has come full circle. I work with clients all over the world. I'm so blessed to be able to go from that hamster wheel of just getting up, going to work, commuting an hour or so each way, to like getting up in my own home, fixing my son breakfast, talking to my family, getting ready to work on my schedule, and yet impacting people in an incredible way, working 3 or 4 hours a day versus 10-hour days, for the same income. And, I'm just really, really blessed. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. I'm grateful to be able to treat clients all over, most of them just over the phone. I have lots of resources. I'm helping so many people from age 3 weeks old all the way up to 99 years of age. So, when people ask, well, who do you work with or who can you help? Anybody that has gone through the traditional, going to traditional doctors and this person, and I went to that person and I still didn't get help and I'm still dealing with this. Those are the kind of people that find me through word of mouth referrals. But myself too, part of my other story with functional medicine was I had a lot of gut problems because when I was a teenager, I was put on a lot of antibiotics for acne.
Mhm.
Years,
Yep.
years of antibiotics. Like they didn't
So
know.
many.
Yeah, nobody even said it was a problem, right? I was on Accutane. I was on everything, right? For 4, 5, 6 years. And then, of course, in my early adulthood, I had horrible gut issues. I had candida. I had yeast infections. I had, all kinds of issues. And then when I finally was like, my gut hurts, all this stuff, I went to gastroenterology and they said, well, let's do an endoscopy. Let's do a colonoscopy. So they did all these invasive tests and they're like, well, you have a little inflammation, right? And so then I went to a nutritionist. I went to somebody that was certified in nutrition. And I'm like, this person's going to help me with my gut. And she gave me all the things that would be perfect for somebody that didn't have SIBO. Well, I had SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And when you have SIBO, adding a whole bunch of fiber and cruciferous vegetables, which normally sounds amazing for a detox, is not what somebody with SIBO would benefit from. So I failed with that. And I was frustrated with the nutritionist. I was frustrated with the traditional medical system. And I said, I got to figure out how to heal myself because these people don't understand what's going on. I try to explain it. And so with that frustration, I ended up using that stuff through functional medicine. Like, why did my son who had ADHD, what happened with him? So when he was 2 years old, he got what I would consider a vaccine injury from the swine flu and the flu vaccine combined. He was
Mm.
hospitalized. He vomited for 2 weeks straight. He needed IV fluids. He was never the same after that. His immune system was shot. He spent many years being sick more than being well. And then my father in 2012, he had gotten diagnosed with cancer. And of course, he's an old farmer guy out in the middle of nowhere in Montana, never went to doctors, but he had this really bad, cold and infection. So he went to the doctor and he got x-rayed. Well, it showed cancer everywhere. And they said, you might have about a year to live. And his doctor said, you know what, your immune system's compromised. You need to take a flu shot. Well, my father had never had a flu vaccine his whole life. And he took his flu vaccine. He died 2 days later. And I'm not saying that there was that caused anything. But what I am saying was that his immune system did not need to be given that particular thing. And when he told me
Right.
that, I just had this gut feeling that that wasn't great for him because I kind of knew through my functional medicine training that our genetics we have difficulty with detoxification and methylation, and you need to be able to methylate and detox those toxins in order to be able to handle that. So not everybody can handle the same things at the same time. And so that really opened my eyes up to really researching all of those things, right? So that's really my story in a nutshell, how I ended up doing what I'm doing. I love helping people with all sorts of issues. Everybody's got a different thing. And so that's my story, Catalina.
Wow. 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 Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, it's, I love stories, okay, but obviously more with happy endings. So I'm so sorry about your dad. It's, yeah, it just shows that algorithms and cookie cutter approaches do not work.
No.
And, definitely have, so many people are not open to thinking outside the, again, algorithm, to call it that.
Mhm.
And what can happen if one doesn't. It's it's unbelievable. But um what do what do you think you're treating patients in traditional occupational therapy versus your clients right now? Do you see a difference in attitude, in response, in the relationship with you?
Yeah, so the relationship with me never really changes because even when I worked in traditional medicine, my patients were my number one priority. And my how I acted, how I treated them, how I treated every single person, every single human was very, very important to me. So that never really changed. That dynamic didn't change. But my ability now to say, okay, you know what, you have pain, and we've tried the traditional hand therapy things. I could also see if there's an emotional component to your pain. And if we could release that energy of that trapped emotion that's stored in your neck or your elbow, it may catapult your healing like immediately or within 1 or 2 treatments versus like 9, 10, 20, 30 treatments, right? So what I was allowed to do when I became independent with this is that I could give them certain products to use, give them the right supplements to use, talk to them energetic, like on a psychological, looking at their spiritual well-being, their emotional well-being, their physical well-being, and really look at everything as a big picture. And that is where it changed everything for my clients. And I even, I always broke the rules in terms of in the sense that I really cared more about my patients than the system, right? Like I didn't always follow the rules. Like one of my very first OT jobs, there was a gentleman who was on his deathbed. He was on hospice. He was a Medicare patient. I went in to treat that client. And basically, I was supposed to be doing range of motion. He was bedridden. I was supposed to go in and help him with ADLs, activities of daily living, washing his face, being independent, all this stuff, which didn't matter to this person at that time. Like I said, and I came in there and I said, what do you really want? And he said, I'd really like to talk to a minister. I want my family around. I want this, I want that. And I said, well, we're not going to do range of motion and watch you wash your face and all. This is so dumb, right? Like, I know that's what I'm supposed to do, but this is not what I'm going to do. Okay. But I'm going to document that I'm going to do range of motion and all the stuff that doesn't matter because that's my job and I'm supposed to do it that way. But it really was amazing to know that I cared for that human. I listened to that human. We got him what he needed. He died 3 days later. And I never felt bad about that situation because I did the right thing, right? And that person got what he needed. And when even prior to ever working as an OT, I did a summer job as a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, right? It was my very first job. And I made $4.16 an hour doing that. Can't even believe that's how much I made doing that. And there was a rule there that you had to wait to take every person that was at the nursing home back to their room after they ate. You had to take everybody back after they ate before you answered a call light. Well, I walked past this room as I was taking someone back to their room, and this little lady, she's 103 years old, and she's like, has her call light on. And I go, hi, I'll be right with you. What do you need? She's like, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, okay, I'll be right there. Well, I got reprimanded because I went back in there. I got that little lady on the commode and gave her what she needed at that time. But again, even way back before I went into OT, I saw the problems with the medical system. I'm like, you're going to tell me that I'm going to tell a 103-year-old lady that she has to wait to go to the restroom? That is unacceptable in my mind to treat humans like that. So I broke that rule. And then at my very last job, and I hate to even admit this, but I did some emotion code work with a gentleman who had complex regional pain syndrome. He had severe pain, and everything I did, every time I touched him, he was in more and more pain. And I said, you know what? I said, I have this modality that I know how to do that can help with pain. I said, if you're open to letting me try it with you, we could do that. I don't even have to touch you. I can connect into you energetically. I can release trapped emotions that could be causing your pain. And we could just see if it helps. Who knows? I'll just try it. So behind the curtain, when I'm supposed to be doing, I don't know, nerve gliding or some other whatever I was supposed to be doing, not touching him, giving him all this pain that he was going through, I cleared some emotions. That was on a Friday. He came back in on Monday and he said, Troy, what you did on Friday saved my life, because on Saturday I planned to kill myself. I was at the park with my 4-year-old son, and I thought, if I'm in this much pain, I can't go on. And he goes, you dropped my pain to a reasonable level. It came down to a 5 out of 10, and I thought there might be some hope. Okay. My boss did not know that story. Nobody knows that story, but I've always been different in how I treat my clients. And we can't really be in those settings, honestly, to be able to treat people the way they need to be treated. So honestly, yeah, I probably did what society, or what the systems would say was not okay. But in reality, as a human being, loving every single human being out there and knowing that everybody's sovereign, everybody deserves the same love and compassion, I needed to get out of that setting. So all the stuff that was an adversity in my life was really my journey to get to where I am right now, to be able to help people. So I never regret any of those things. I never regret getting in trouble. One time I was supposed to go work on the psych floor. I was supposed to float from outpatient hand therapy and go to the psych floor because they were needing help up there. And I said, you know what? I need to be oriented to that floor so that I can provide a good service. Well, I wasn't oriented to that floor. And I knew it was all about money. It had nothing to do with those clients needed me to come up and be their therapist for that moment. And so again, I got in trouble from my supervisor. Like, I was unruly, right? I was this unruly person trying to love on people. And I said, you know what? If my license is on the line to help that person and I am not doing the best that I can for them, that's unacceptable in my mind. You train me and I will be happy to float for this department. But if you just throw me in there because you need money for the day, that's not okay to me. And that wasn't okay to the hospital because, of course I got in trouble for that too. So, I'm a little bit of a rebel when it comes to doing what is right in life. And I really needed to get out of that setting to be able to work in a space to help others in a different way. So,
Yeah. Oh my God. That's another, you have amazing story after amazing story, right? But it's true. So many people look at challenges as obstacles, like, oh, why did this happen to me? Well, it depends on what your question is. Like, instead of why did this happen to me? Okay, what is my next step? What was I supposed to learn from this? Where is this going to take me? It's like stepping stones, because it's making you who you are, who you're supposed to be. And you're open to it. You're not judgmental. You're not like fearful, and you're ready for the next step to progress, because progress makes happy, right? And I think we match so well from the beginning because we're both rebels, right? My first rebellion, so to speak, was in Romania. I'm Romanian, right? And we took part in the revolution in '89. And some people were saying, are you crazy? You're going out there, they're shooting, people are dying, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I don't know, but I have to be there. We have to be there. Me and my husband, we were like there at the hospital, okay, ready to go and, help. And it felt good. It felt so good. I
Yeah.
mean, amazing, amazing. And then when I transitioned to functional medicine, nobody understood why I was doing that. I mean, none of our friends or my patients were kind of sad. It's like, are you sure you don't love us anymore? I'm like, I love you very much. That's why I'm transitioning, but follow me.
Yeah.
And well, some did, some didn't, but it's interesting how we have to come out of the comfort zone. We can, or at least the comfort zone that's designed or viewed as the perfect zone by other people in order to reach our purpose and our best.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think if people can look at their adversities or their challenges and then go from there and look that it's part of their journey, right? And I always tell my son, hopefully you can learn the lesson before you need to learn the lesson, right? So there's many things that we can hopefully avoid, but some of those lessons we have to physically go through and learn from. And that was part of my situation, right? I wouldn't have come to where I am if I didn't see those things that happened in my life and with my family and with myself and my own health. I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm always very grateful for that. And Dean Graziosi is somebody who's very, very successfully financially, and he came from kind of a poor background, and his father, created a lot of stress in his life, and there was a lot of financial stress for him. But that is why he's an amazing individual today who has an incredible family and also just amazing abundance financially, because of that journey. And he always thanks his dad, who created all those adversities for him, because that's why he is where he is today. And so we don't need to look at our challenges or our health issues or things like that in a negative way. We can take that and say, what am I supposed to learn from this? Or how can I become better? Or how can I help somebody in a different way? Maybe I didn't do something the best way for that client or that person. And it's okay, because we're all human and we're going to learn from that, right? And so I always just say, it's okay if you're in a difficult situation and you're coming to see me, there is hope. And you somehow, it's been divinely guided that you found me in a way, because people that do find me, I always know it's divinely guided. I went to this basketball game yesterday to watch my cousin's girls play, and my aunt and uncle were there. And I was talking with my aunt, and she's like, oh, my uncle was up there next to his childhood best friend from childhood, and he's got really, really bad cancer, and he's really afraid. And I said, oh, okay. Well, that's interesting, because just about a week ago, I was consulting with my functional medicine kind of naturopathic physician colleague, and there's something that I could offer to him, right? And so it was such a blessing, like for everything to line up perfectly for that gentleman. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but at least I gave him hope, and I gave him something that may really, really help him in the next several weeks and months, and hopefully maybe even a full recovery, right? And so no guarantees, but when somebody says, you know what, there's something else that we may be able to try to help you. Okay, there is hope. There are other means other than just what your doctor's telling you. Like, it's not a death sentence. You have, God within you. You have the ability to heal. What if we identify the root causes of why you're having this situation, and then utilize the tools and the things that we know and what we've learned that we're seeing results with? And let's do that. Give them some hope, right? And so just amazing. I love what I do now. I'm so blessed to be able to do that. And my son, by the way, he's incredible. He went from this really shy kid with very impulsive. He's much healthier now. He's stronger now. He's state champion in the state of Montana in the 100 backstroke, the 2 backstroke, the 200 IM, the 500 freestyle. He's an incredible swimmer, and he doesn't want to swim college. Okay, so that's okay for me. It's okay for me. I'm letting that go. But the fact that he came from that, like he targeted his ADHD, targeted his energy into something productive for him. and just learning what he needed and using emotion code and body code and clearing negative belief systems. So one of the other cool stories was, because my son was getting sick like every time around a big swim meet, I'm like, there's got to be a belief system there, right? That's causing
Mhm.
him maybe anxiety. Like, okay, well, if I get sick and I don't perform my best, then I have an excuse why I didn't win, right? And so what I found when I did the belief code was he had a negative belief system that he didn't deserve good health. That was one of the statements that I found.
Wow.
If you have that stored in your subconscious, then your body's going to be like, oh, you're feeling better, but you don't really deserve good health. So, we're going to, make sure your immune system's a little low and you catch the next cold or whatever, and so it's amazing how our beliefs can create our reality. And just like that gentleman I talked to about his cancer yesterday, if he has a belief that there's something else out there that can help him heal, he
Mhm.
now longer is probably going to live longer than if he didn't hear that statement. So
Absolutely.
we know the power of
Absolutely.
mind. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we see this over and over again where people that have maybe are diagnosed with like aggressive cancers, or even metastatic cancer, they survive years. They get cured basically and are alive and happy years, decades after the diagnosis, while others who have a different belief system
Mm-hmm.
pass at so far so soon after the diagnosis is just a belief system. And I think in traditional medicine, of course, we look at all the systems and diseases, but more of the disease, and not so much as the um, communication between all our systems, basically, even at the cellular level, that all
Right.
these axes, gut, brain, kidney, gut, in intestinal, gut, heart, everything is connected, and
Yeah.
you have to tap into those connections to improve health overall.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears that I guess the common denominator in traditional medicine, right, is to control disease, but not to fix it.
Right. Yeah. Or to mask symptoms.
To mask symptoms, right, but not fix the root cause of the problem, so
Mm.
that and then people end up on medications for the rest of their lives, hopefully avoid complications. But the mindset that is fed to them is that it's okay if you're taking your medication, you're doing your best, that's all you can do.
Mm.
And it's a disaster, absolutely a disaster. So yeah, but fantastic. And knowing what you know now, or that you knew, a couple of years ago already, a few years ago already, would you have done this transition would you have jumped into this earlier, or you think that that was exactly the right time for that?
Well, I always believe that everything's done in perfect timing, right? It all
I,
happens for a reason, a perfect timing. And so I probably wasn't ready for it when, 10 years earlier, right? I
Mhm.
was probably still learning about all the things that brought me to where I was at that perfect time. So, just like if you asked Dean Graziosi, would you have wanted to grow up wealthy instead of growing up poor? And he goes, no, that would have changed my destiny for where I am today. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, if I didn't go through that process, I would not have wanted to learn functional medicine. I would not have, if I had the perfect healthy son, what would I have learned? When would I have done emotion code? I mean, I didn't know anything about energy work. I knew how to muscle test because I'm an occupational therapist and I understood that, but I was very scientifically minded and things like that. I didn't know about energy work and that we could change things energetically. We could release things, and everything in the universe is energy, and everything has a vibration. Everything has a frequency. Everything. I would never have guessed that unless I went through that process. So I would never change that journey, so.
Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely. Although I would want more doctors to at least be open to, and practitioners, healthcare practitioners, to be open to functional medicine and energy healing, maybe, if that's their field, but not be stuck in the traditional ways and be like completely oblivious to what's possible.
Mhm.
We have we have a friend who's been treated for weight issues with medication, and he had such severe side effects, but it didn't matter
Mhm.
because nothing else in the alternative world was viewed as even worthy to look
Mhm.
at.
Right.
Yeah. So while people that we've worked with, they're so much happier. It's like one of my patients says, even if I didn't lose any weight, just how my mindset changed, how my relationship changed, how my fiance changed,
Mhm.
it's worth 10 times more.
Right.
Everything changes, and I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Totally.
hopefully, like this year I had a medical student come and shadow me, and she's in an integrative medical school now. And so it was really
Okay.
great to see that some medical schools and programs are now getting that exposure to alternative therapies, right? So that we can, help people and help them learn and go, oh, there is another way. If this doesn't work, there is something else that we can utilize to help the body to heal, or give people options at least to be able to try different things and utilize different services, because just like going to a dentist or a chiropractor or a massage therapist, they're not all the same, right? Everybody's got different gifts and skills, so we don't want to necessarily lump one thing in to another. Like, there are benefits to different modalities, and there are different practitioners, different doctors, and different ways of working with people that can have greater outcomes, right? So if you're struggling out there, or if you want something different, know there's hope. There are alternatives there. I never take away from what other doctors are doing. They're doing the best they can. I'm sure many of the doctors out there have gone into the medical field because they wanted to help people, right, to heal. And
Absolutely.
maybe their method of training, their methodology did not expose them. Whereas sometimes they may have had to have an adversity to see, like, there's got to be a different way. Or why are all these children getting sick? Or why is this happening? So they question the narrative and then look into other things that could be beneficial for people, right? So hopefully we're just creating awareness, creating a place for people that are in my field: occupational therapists, physical therapists, nurse practitioners, medical providers, and however that looks to them, that there is hope. You can continue to benefit people in both ways. You can be integrative. You can look at both sides and go, what's going to help this person the most, right? So I never want to take away from what traditional medicine is, or allopathic medicine has created for us. I mean, certainly if I was in an accident or I needed a emergency surgery, I'm so grateful for those medical practitioners out there that are trained to help in that way. But I think our systems have fallen short in helping the majority of the world to be able to heal, and to recognize that we have within us everything we need to heal. And if we can identify the root cause and help them to heal, it's much, much easier, much faster, much better for the person in general. So I love connecting in with the subconscious mind, because the subconscious remembers every detail of every second of their lives. And by asking yes, no questions to get those answers, we can find the root cause. Like the client that I worked with this morning, even, she kind of laughed and she says, wow, I don't think my doctor would have found any of this, right? And she goes, interestingly, the misalignment in her spine and her disc misalignment and her spirit to physical disconnection and breakdown in communication with a vertebrae and a ligament and all the things that I cleared around that. She never told me she had back pain. She said, you know what? I have thyroid issues and I have gut issues. She never told me about her back. And when I cleared all this stuff along her back, she goes, oh, I've been going to a chiropractor and a spinal flow practitioner and a rolfer, and they were all saying I have all this stuff around T9, T10. Well, I found the T10 vertebrae misalignment, the T9 disc misalignment, the breakdown in communication, all these trapped emotions that were around that injury, and I released that. And I said, well, how are you feeling? You know, did you feel any shifts? Did anything change for you? And she goes, wow, this back pain that I've been dealing with forever is gone, right? And so I wasn't even treating her back, but her subconscious gave me the answers to everything I needed to help her heal. And because everything's energy and my intention was to help her to feel better, to find an incredible, I always set the intention to create an incredible positive shift for my client so that it happens. Because when you put that energy out in the universe, it happens, right? And that's why I tend to get really great results, because my intention is very pure to help that person. And I don't necessarily know what's going to come up, but all I do is muscle test, get the right answers, follow Dr. Brad's software, which is amazing. His body code software is over 900 pages of medical notes that I muscle test through to get the answers, which is why I knew that you know, the misalignment there, you know, it worked. So it's really, really fun. So
Wow, amazing, amazing. It's like, yeah, when you treat patients and they, well, but I didn't tell you that. How did this get better? That's an amazing feeling, right? It's
it's really
fantastic. The satisfaction cannot be put into words,
no.
right? Yeah, it's you know, like your big smile says it all, right?
Yeah,
I
for sure.
know that it feels amazing. It feels amazing to transform a person's life, basically, right? Amazing.
Yeah.
So, one last thing, like if you were to write a letter as you know, like 10 years later, you know, how would you describe your life? How would you describe what you achieved? What do you think?
Well, yeah. Well, because I believe in energy and I really believe in the power of the mind and manifestation and all the things that we are capable of healing. Some of the health issues that I've had in my own life are gone, right? I'm healthier than I've ever been in my entire life, you know, in the future. I'm happier than I've ever been, right? Financially, I don't have any worries. I've been able to help people in such a transformational way that it's thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And so my life goal was always to create an incredible positive shift, you know, a butterfly effect around the world so that I lived a life of significance. And so when I take my last breath, I will always look back and go, I lived a life of significance. I impacted thousands of people around the world. I had everything that I needed. I was healthy, vibrant, alive, and made an incredible impact. And so that's what I see for myself 10 years down the road if I opened up that letter or I viewed what my life was looking like. And so that's it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, that's how I think people should view their lives, thinking, when I take my last breath, will I regret anything?
Mhm.
Or I'm going to be so happy with what I did, what I achieved, what impact I had in this world.
Mhm.
And did I do my best to, you know, impact even my family, or, it depends on everybody's mission, right? And position in society. But that's a beautiful, beautiful, it's a beautiful life, right? That's,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
a beautiful life. And I thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing with everybody those stories. Oh, amazing, amazing. And I know that a lot of people will wonder, where would they find you? So where do they find you?
Well, I'll give you a couple of options. I have a scheduling platform. You can find me at heal.me/Troy Shelton. That is my scheduling platform. It has a lot of my credentials on there. It has a lot of reviews and testimonials. You can go to quantumaccelerated.healing.com. And that is my website that you can go to, and that you can kind of see a little bit more testimonials, some blog posts, some other interviews and things that I have done in the past. But certainly you can just go to heal.me/Troy Shelton. You can book a free consultation. I'm happy to talk with anyone for free, understand your story, understand your goals, and really see if there's a great fit where I can help you in some way. I would love to meet you. So that's probably the best way. Go to heal.me/Troy Shelton, click on book a free consultation, and I'll be able to help you out. So thank you so much, Catalina. It's a pleasure to always chat with you. We have a lot in common in terms of wanting to help a lot of people and looking, outside that algorithm, as you said. So.
My pleasure, absolutely. And we'll chat in the future for more amazing stories.
Yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you.